Hello learners, this is Excel with Habeeba and we are learning philosophical foundation of education under that topic modern concept of philosophy, that is analysis, logical empiricism and positive relativism by Morris L. Prigge we are going to discuss. So let's begin now. All the problems of traditional philosophy arise due to commission of logical error, and they sought to dissolve these problems by logical analysis of language, which consisted in analyzing meaningful statements into two broad categories, that is analytic and then empirical verifiable. So we will understand in deep about these in further slides. Modern concept of philosophy, it is said that one day Gautama Buddha went out in the city and first saw a dead body, then a patient, and subsequently an old man. He was much disturbed to see their miserable condition. His thinking was disturbed and he felt that the world is monetary and full of misery. His faith in life was almost eliminated. He began to meditate upon the cause of misery in the world. He deliberated on various alternatives in this connection. For years together, he wandered in the forest, meditating on the causes of misery and the ways to remove it. Though in the beginning he was much disturbed at the state of misery in the world, but while meditating on its causes, he became detached and unemotional. His mind was open and his views comprehensive. These statements or the situations shows the fundamental characteristics of philosophical attitude. It is not necessary for one's philosophical attitude to be similar to that of Buddha. It could be widely different also. For example, when the ancient sages of the age of Vedas wondered at the phenomena of nature, their philosophical attitudes was that of awe and wonderment. So, on the other hand, the philosophy of the French thinker Descartes began with doubt, that means question mark. He doubted the efficacy of his sensations and perceptions. How can I know that my senses are not deceiving me? That was the question in his mind. What is the proof that I exist? How can I be sure about the existence of the world around me? Thus, failing to find any solid proof of the existence of things around him and also of his own, Descartes' mind was full of doubt. This doubt was fundamental to his philosophical theories. So, modern philosophy is one of the many branches of philosophy that took birth in the 17th century in Western Europe. It ended roughly in the early 20th century. It is a branch of philosophy that majorly focuses on the application of a certain method of thought that is very much different from the earlier types of philosophy. So, the main theme of modern philosophy is the attainment of new knowledge through one's own experiences and logic, rather than automatically accepting already established knowledge and doctrines. Now, what are the characteristics of philosophical attitude? Let's see here. The above mentioned examples of the philosophical attitude of Gautama Buddha, the seers of the Vedas and Descartes, the father of modern Western philosophy, show the following chief characteristics of philosophical attitude. The first one is sense of wonder. Most of us are so used to the word around us and take it for granted. That we do not wonder even at things which are actually marvelous. The philosopher is a man who has a childlike sense of wonder. He wonders at the system, sequence, variety, and mutually contradictory phenomena in the world around him and tries to find out the cause behind it all. This was the beginning of philosophical thought in India and elsewhere. So, sense of wonder. Second one is doubt. Philosophical attitude is against dogmatism. It examines every belief. Doubts everything, not because doubting is a philosophical habit, but because the philosopher is in search of some solid proofs for the existence of things around him and also that of himself. The next one is criticism. Next characteristic, the philosophical attitude is critical. That means the philosopher does not accept a thing as it is but examines it and arrives at his own rational conclusion. Then reflection. Next characteristic is reflection. That is, critical thinking involves reflection. That is, hence the philosophical attitude is reflective. That means what are the positives, what are the negatives. We think about all these things. We reflect upon our deeds. That is reflection. Then tolerance. Tolerance, the philosopher is prepared to see every aspect of a problem. His mind is open and his standpoint liberal and tolerant, free from all those things, and also they should be tolerant. If I am not finding answer to any question, I will not get fed up. I have to find out again and again until I reach the conclusion. So the next one is acceptance of the guidance of experience and reason. That means the philosopher thinks in the light of his experience, and with the help of his reasoning power, he has no prejudice. That means judging beforehand and preconception of his own. He is prepared to go to whoever his reason might take him, however this may hit at this hitherto held beliefs. It is hence that the great social reformer Sankara of India declared the world as Maya, that is illusion. So next one is no haste in arriving at the conclusions. That means the philosopher does not arrive at any conclusions unless he has some solid proofs for them. He does not worry about the amount of time involved in the process, as he is in no hurry to reach the conclusions. Next one is detachment. That means the philosopher is neither skeptic nor a dogmatist. He reflects with a detached and unemotional attitude. Then only he can move forward. The last one is persistence. That is, the philosopher ceaselessly persists in his thinking unless he arrives at some satisfactory conclusion. That is very important. Satisfactory conclusions and a detached attitude, and because his conclusions are never final, his search continues throughout his life. That person will be a philosopher. So to conclude, the philosophical attitude invokes sense of wonder, doubt, synthetic. This synthetic aspect of philosophy is known as speculative aspect, because the philosopher has to take recourse to speculation in his philosophical synthesis. So this is all about the characteristics of philosophical attitude. Now, value of philosophy we have to see here. Philosophy influences both the personal and social aspects of human life. Most of the Western philosophers have considered the goal of philosophy to be the achievement of knowledge, but the aim of philosophy is not mere intellectual, not related always to mind. It is true that philosophy gives us knowledge, but as Aurobindo has pointed out, still the truth once discovered must be uh, realizable in our inner being and our outer activities. If it is not, it may have an intellectual but not an integral importance. A truth for the intellect, for our life, it would be no more than the solution of a tough puzzle or an abstract reality or a dead letter. These are the words of Sir Aurobindo. So, let's understand about the value here. This can be seen particularly in the following points. Number one, value of philosophy in personal life. That is, in our personal life, we come across problems where we have to decide between right and wrong. This decision requires the parameters for judging of right or wrong or good, and ultimately the good to present such as parameter is the job of moral philosophy here. So thus it is clear that we are in need of philosophy at every step of our life. Man cannot live a thoughtless life. He has to always think over man types of problems. Is it not strange that though many people think, few know the laws of thought and the ways of thinking? The laws of thought and the ways of thinking from the subject matter of an important branch of philosophy known as logic. We will discuss about logic in the coming slides. A man may sometimes think properly even without any knowledge of logic, but knowledge of logic will definitely make his thinking better and more valid. So, value of philosophy in personal life is very, very important. Then value in behavior towards others. Whereas philosophy influences personal life, it influences even the life of others also. That means society. Our behavior towards others is determined by our philosophies. If a man considers others as ends in themselves, his behavior will be different from that of those persons who consider others as mere instruments to achieve their own selfish ends. So every man has divine elements in him. This is a philosophical attitude. Everybody is important here. Their philosophical attitude is also very important. For example, the hatred of a communist towards a capitalist is the result of Marxist philosophy. The next one is value in political life here. Philosophy also influences political life. Various types of political philosophies such as democratic socialism, communism, totalitarianism, anarchism, etc. lead to different types of governance and state, and to a lot of differences concerning human rights and the different aspects of political life. Next one is value in economic life. Everyone has to earn money, obviously, in order to fulfill the basic needs of food, clothing, shelter. The question is as to what is the aim of life. Is money an end or merely a means to it? This is a philosophical question, and on the answer to this question depends not only the economic activities of the individual but also those of nations. The form of production, consumption, exchange very much depends on the answer to this philosophical question. Let's see what Gandhiji says about this. According to Gandhiji, capitalists are the trustees of the capital of society. On the other hand, according to Karl Marx, the capitalists are the exploiters of the proletariat. These two different philosophical attitudes have widely influenced economic life. The next one is value in social life. Society. Social means pertaining to society. Society is a web of social relationships. These relationships are found in different institutions such as family, marriage, business, and in thousands of associations. All these are influenced by philosophy. For example, whether the wedlock between a man and a woman is a social contract, that is wedlock means wedding contract, or whether marriage is a religious sacrament is a philosophical question, and the answer to which depend the form, stability and result of marriage in a particular society. So value is there in social life also. The next one is value in cultural life. Value in cultural life. The philosophy of a nation is the index of its cultural progress. Thus philosophy influences each aspect of culture. The forms of dance, music, art, literature, etc. are very much influenced by philosophy. A healthy philosophy will lead to healthy attitude towards all these. The next one is value in educational field. Value in educational field. Though nowadays the number of students of philosophy and departments of its teaching in India, Indian universities is gradually becoming less and less, no thoughtful person denies the value of philosophy in educational field. In the words of Balcad and others, the function of philosophy in university is properly the same as its function of philosophy in universities is properly the same as its function in the cultural development of a society to be the intellectual conscience of the community. So the most fundamental question in the field of education is concerning its aims. This question raises another question as to what is man, because what he is not, he cannot become. He can become only that what he is already implicit in him already. Man's nature is therefore a philosophical question. So the next one is value in the field of knowledge. Let's understand about the knowledge here. In the modern times, many educated persons who swear by science consider philosophy to be useless because they are ignorant of the function of philosophy in the field of science. It can be said without exaggeration that without a philosophical basis, any knowledge is imperfect, because no total picture can be presented without the synthetic function of philosophy. So these are all about the importance of value of philosophy. Now let's discuss philosophical issues here. Already we have done this, but let's recapitulate quickly the philosophical issues. Number one, metaphysics, that is, what is reality? Epistemology related to knowledge, metaphysics related to reality, epistemology related to knowledge, axiology related to values. So it is the study of the nature of reality and involves the study of the relationship between man and body, that is metaphysics. Now epistemology deals with the nature of the scope of knowledge and explores the possibility of feasibility of the acquired knowledge. So epistemological beliefs influence teaching methods. How we know is closely related to how we learn and therefore how we should teach. So these are all the things related to knowledge. Then comes the axiology. This issue is primary concerned with the question of the best way to live, and secondly with the finding answers of the questions in life. So axiology is further subdivided into the branches of ethics and aesthetics. That is, axiology answers the question, what is value? It is normal for a student to absorb the teacher's value and start considering it as his own. So value, ethics and aesthetics are very, very important. We have to remember. Next one is, now let's see logical analysis. Logical analysis, there are two words. What is logical and what is analysis? Let's see quickly. Logical means based on reason and sound ideas. Now analysis, detailed examination of the elements. That means we are examining the elements based on reason and sound ideas. In logic, the object of the study is reasoning. This is an activity that humans engage in when we make claims and back up with reasons. For example, I will see that I have failed in this because so and so reasons I will give. Causes for that failure. That means some reasoning is engaged, backup is engaged with that. That means when we make inferences about what follows from a set of statements. Now let's see the definition of logic here. Logic is more concerned with thought as a product rather than with thinking as a process, given by Word in 1919. Now what is analysis? A detailed examination of anything complex in order to understand its nature or to determine its essential features. Let's see the definition here. Logical analysis consists in criticizing and clarifying notions which are apt to be regarded as fundamental and accepted uncritically given by Russell. Now, logical analysis, positivists tend to regard the primary task of philosophy to be the clarification of language through a process of logical analysis, and positivists considered any questions that can be answered by their methods to be meaningless, and therefore they assert that all questions incapable of empirical verification, primarily those of metaphysics, theology and so on, are meaningless, they say. These logical analysis. Now logical empiricism, also known as logical positivism, logical neo-positivism. So let's understand in detail about these. First, let's understand empiricism. According to classical empiricism, the mind is a blank slate, that is tabula rasa it was called. That means mind is totally blank. Knowledge of existing things is written onto the blank slate through sense experience. That means through seeing. All knowledge, concepts, universals and general ideas come from experiences. That means when we see an apple through our sense, that is eyes, and it will be seen through the response of the brain. So these are the connection of senses, they say. Empiricism, all of our knowledge comes through the use of the five senses, they say. That means I see to see a tree here. That means a belief is a basic empirical belief if and only if it is a direct result of sensation, it is called. Now empiricism is a philosophical and scientific concept that emphasizes the role of experience, evidence and observation in the formation of knowledge. Here in research, controlled experiments and observational studies are done under this empiricism. That means verifiable quantitative things should be presented here. Now logical empiricism, also known as logical positivism or logical neo-positivism, just now I said, or scientific philosophy, a philosophic movement rather than a set of doctrines that flourished in the 1920s and 30s in several centers of Europe and in the 40s and 50s in the US. They regard science as the only source of knowledge and claims metaphysics is meaningless. Now what is positivism? Let's see. Approach to the study of society that relies specifically on scientific evidence such as experiments and statistics to reveal a true nature of how society operates. We have understood about positivism. Now let's see logical positivism, also known as, just now I said, that is logical empiricism, scientific philosophy. Neo-positivism was scientifically oriented philosophical movement here. According to logical positivism, there are only two sources of knowledge, that is logical reasoning and empirical experience. Now logical positivism, let's see the characteristics, that is rationality, positive knowledge, anti-metaphysical. That means they don't see about the metaphysics, that is beyond thinking they don't go. That is between science and non-science. Language has a logical structure here. What is meaningful is equal to what is verifiable. There should be some proof. Source of knowledge, that is observations plus logic, that is logical empiricism. Here, construction of general knowledge through induction and deduction, the hypothetical deductive method. That means in inductive method, that means particular to general. That means particular thing is taken and then they will, for example, examples are taken and then they will go to the laws. Now deductive, that is general to particular here. Like that, theories, and then they will go to the main thing. So unified science, methodological monoism, mathematical physics becomes the ideal science here. Now only two sources of knowledge just now we have understood here, which should be verifiable. Then logical positivism contributes to the methods also in education, in the aim of education also. Now what are the educational implications? Let's have a quick look here. Logical positivism is a philosophical system and not a theory of education. In philosophy, its contribution is particularly notable in the field of epistemology, that is knowledge. Therefore, its implications are particularly important in teaching methods and the methods of communicating knowledge in education. So let's see quickly one by one. Aims of education, majorly aims of education, that is to distinguish between sense and non-sense, that is knowledge and ignorance, meaningful and meaningless propositions. Then educational methods are also very important, both here logical and positive. The teacher should himself analyze propositions in knowledge and check their verifications. Then curriculum, the logical positivist rejects metaphysics, religion and all such knowledge which may not be verified. It should be language and grammar, the training and also morals, spiritual education, etc. Sciences occupy a prestigious place also here. Science and scientific research. So the student should develop constructive imagination. Then school organization, the school should be managed by the students as much as by the teachers here. Now educational importance, let's see here. Educational importance, logical positivism can be employed in education in the following fields. That is, in the field of language philosophy, this philosophy can particularly contribute in language grammar. Then secondly, in the field of science, it can give empirical viewpoint to the tendency of logic, that is reasoning. That is, logical positivism searches formal and empirical knowledge. From formal viewpoint, this knowledge adopts the techniques based on mathematics and language analysis. So from empirical point of view, all statements of knowledge are to be verified directly. The third one is main ideas, so these are the 2 points here we have to understand related to educational importance of logical positivism. Now educational importance of the main ideas of logical positivism, let's see here. Main ideas of logical positivism, first one, the focal point of logical positivism is to use verification or reliability as a measure. That means so that meaning may be proved true or false. Only that statement is important and meaningful which is perceptual. That means the statement which can be verified is worth experience. Now the second point, according to verification principle of logical positivism, if some statement is meaningful, it would certainly be verified and become a part of experience directly. Now the third point is logical perceptualism, which is a result of unity of logical positivism, scientific empiricism and scientific revolution, is not a traditional philosophy. Its important traditional philosophy, its important contribution is seen in the following classifications, that is basic knowledge, that is assumption, hypothesis in the field of evolution, that is tentative solution, hypothesis, forming the tentative solution for any problem. Then what should be the procedure of that? These are the main important things here, classifications. Now let's understand about positive relativism here. Positive relativism is a unique philosophy in its approach that fuses relativistic philosophy and cognitive field psychology. Speaking in the Hegelian terms, positive relativism is an emergent synthesis, that is something new which is the consequence of the interplay of the opposing views of rational, realist, idealist and logical empiricists. Now, Maurice L. Prigge, in his book Positive Relativism, an Emergent Educational Philosophy, enumerates the central focus and orientation of positive relativism as first point, that is formation of an emergent synthesis, that is derived from a study of logical, empiricist, objective principles and idealistic subjective tendencies. Next one, subordination of interest in any absolutist concepts to concern with purposive human endeavors. That means it is a next subordinate interest. Whoever have absolute concepts concerning with the purpose of human, what they are doing, that is a substitute. That is this positive relativism. Now, opposition to the idea that knowledge is a spectatorial report in regard to a given fixed reality waiting to be uncovered. Next point is interpretation of experience as a process of interactive cooperation between a knower and the known, within which manipulation, conceptualization and control replace merely looking on and reporting. Next one is a joining of theories of knowledge and theories of values. These are together. Then acceptance of an open-mindedness of knowledge. No ceiling is placed upon man's potential. Next one, emphasis upon a democratic outlook both in and outside of schools. So these are all the very much important points which Maurice L. Prigge has given in his book Positive Relativism. Let's recapitulate quickly. The first point, what is the focus, central focus and orientation of positive relativism? Here, study of logic, logical, empiricist, objective principles and idealistic subjective tendencies. Second one is it is a subordination of knowing things. Third one is it is opposition to the idea that knowledge is a only spectatorial report. It is a fixed reality waiting to be uncovered, they say. The next one is interpretation of experience as a process, not product, interactive cooperation. Then joining theories of knowledge and theories of values. Then acceptance of open-mindedness. Then emphasis upon democratic freedom, that is democratic outlook both in and outside of the schools. So positive relativism is both an amplification of traditional philosophical ideas and dogmas as well as a manifestation of the author's obligation to ideals of democracy and their application to classroom practices. So this is all about modern philosophy. Hope you liked the class. If you like, please do like, share, subscribe and comment below. Thanks for your attention and time. Happy learning.